All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's going on?
How are we doing this afternoon?
If anybody out there was wondering why there's such a thing as a broadcaster's jinx,
I saw you two idiots give the Toronto Maple Leafs a kiss of death.
No.
Yes.
The guy to your right goes, and they get the lead after the second. They never lose. They never lose.
Jonas was in the middle smiling away, and then actually I did see you go, why did you even say that? You called him out on it. You did.
So now we believe in a jinx. Look at you two. Now we believe in a jinx.
I'm just saying.
That's
why they call it a broadcaster's jinx.
I guess, and you're not alone. I had people writing me last night. It's your fault. The Leafs probably knew that you were jinxing them, as if that's what they were listening to before the show. And it's true. It's the end of an era. We played the Major League theme song coming in because they had won 5 in a row. They deserved that. That's show policy.
Standard procedure, yes.
Standard procedure. And prior to last night, I believe they were 24-0 when leading in the third. And naturally, when does the streak break? With the worst team in the league. You're up 2-0 against the worst team in the league. And you piss away a point last night. And it actually got to a point when it was 2-2. I was kind of thinking, just get to overtime and get a point. I was legitimately thinking, this Celebrini kid's buzzing in the third. Man, was he impressive last night.
Player.
He is so crafty, and he's hard on pucks, and he's smart. He made a play off the sideboard that I don't think anyone would have really picked up on. It was Will Smith was taken off, and I think he missed him on purpose to hit the board to beat the defenseman on the far side. It was a brilliant play.
He's unreal.
He's so good.
To see his growth in like a year and a half from the World Juniors prior to the last one and then leading into the NHL, that's impressive, man. Because he was good in the World Juniors in Sweden, but he wasn't like dominant. He just had his moments where you could tell he was going to be a good offensive player. He had the cage on. And then all of a sudden, the guy's playing in the NHL, and in the March of the first year he's playing, he's like a dominant player. He's really good, man.
You know, watching him, I think his game suits the NHL maybe better than other leagues. That's probably what it is. Oh, you see guys that, their game, what their strengths of their game is what makes you have success at the NHL. And I thought of last night, Celebrini, the details of his game at 18. Like, he's hard on pucks like John Tavares is hard on pucks. Smart and handling the puck. Like, he reminded me, and this is big shoes to fill, of kind of like a young John Tavares. I think he's a better skater when it's all said and done, but Tavares is heavy on pucks. He's good around the net and got great vision and patience. And Celebrini has a lot of that at 18. I can't wait to see what he's going to be like at 22, 23.
Yeah. And that's what you should be first overall, right? If you go first overall, you should be expected to show flashes almost immediately that you're the real deal. And that's what he was. He stripped Tavares late in the game last night, too, like below the dots. And you could tell that Tavares kind of looked at him like, what are you doing here? Yeah. And that's that's the trap that the Leafs fell in last night. They'd been playing with fire. They had won 5 in a row in a very strange way of winning 5 in a row. And they're up 2-0 against San Jose. They're going to Vegas. They're probably thinking, it's over. Like, let's just get out of here. And in the third period, they fell asleep. And they got caved in on multiple occasions, like veterans getting caved in, where there's Tavares chasing guys around. And I thought Rielly and Ekman-Larsson were awful in the third period last night. Awful. And Stolarz, was glued to his right post on both goals. And
he had some lateral movement issues last night on that side. But I mean, listen, he had made a couple good saves. And, that one was like, you get caught outside the post here. He got jammed up on the post. But
Yarncroc could have helped him, right? Maybe pick up your man. Like, how soft is that check in front?
That's your guy. Toffoli, you got to get underneath that stick there. That's Yarncroc. First game, which I actually thought he had a little jump. He looked
I did
decent.
too. Yeah, I did too.
It's going to be interesting to see what they have in Vegas, because you wonder if, like, the hockey gods plus just the odds are going to recalibrate, because I don't want to use the word bluffing, but they've been picking up some points where it's like that Pittsburgh game, the San Jose game. It's like, are you going to start getting clubbed now? Like, that's it. The Vegas game is where they need to, like, a good team will just buckle down and be like, okay, reset. We got a couple real deal Holyfield teams coming up here Wednesday and Saturday, and we got to be dialed in for it. Mm-hmm. Forget about anything that's happened in the last 10 days. Let's play real hockey.
Absolutely, and they have the luxury of banking all those points. And Florida won last night, and they're right there with Florida. Tampa, they got a bit of a buffer on them, but Tampa's got some games in hand, and they're going to play Tampa again. They're going to play Florida twice more. Yeah. And those 3 games are likely going to determine, how this division is going to break out. Yeah. And, it's a long season. Every team in the league is going to have some ups and downs. And I think the sign of a good team and a sign of things that are kind of breaking your way is that even when you don't feel great, you're still racking up points. And, that's what the Leafs have been doing here. They haven't been playing, spectacularly well, but still racking up points. And I think tomorrow is a platform game. You get only so many of them down the stretch. I would say the 2 against Florida, the 1 against Tampa, and then Vegas and Colorado. Those are probably the games you're kind of circling and looking at and thinking, okay, these are platform games. These are big boy games. Let's see what we got here coming home. But they're in a good position. And, Stolarz, again, he gave up 2 goals, and I was talking to Doogie, and, the reaction as well, was it his fault or whatever? I mean, he gave up 2 goals. Yeah. Stolarz has been great this year, and he gave up 2. And then the shootout, they haven't had a shootout all year. It was a weird experience watching the shootout last night because they're the last team in the league to have one. And it's like you had this shootout withdrawal almost, like it was taking place. And I'm like, what is this, man? We haven't seen this in a long time. And, now you hit the road, and you also buckle up for Friday. They're going to be on the road. I don't know if it matters. You guys can speak to it when you're playing in the league. Does it matter if you're at home, on the road for the trade deadline? I'm not sure. But, teams are starting to move. We're starting to see some moves now, and it sounds like some things are starting to really heat up around the league.
Man, oh, man. That Frederick deal, Edmonton paid. I mean, they got a guy for $500,000. That's and a hell of a player, and I don't know if he's going to play. It sounds like he's banged up and might not resurface till near the end of the season, if not the end of the season. But they had to pay a price. If you follow the trail of it, now that's Scott LaChance's son, who was in that deal, who is the head pro scout of the New Jersey Devils.
So he gets the jersey, Shane LaChance.
Yeah, Shane LaChance. And he's a nice player.
Good scouting.
But he's a 6th rounder to Edmonton, who's kind of a late bloomer. 6'5", again, scoring and stuff, power forward. But Edmonton had to kind of pay a price there to get Frederick, and that Jones is a big character too, who can move. So I mean,
hasn't been playing much, but I always liked him. I never understood why he didn't pop in the NHL.
I liked him in Anaheim. I thought he was but again, I don't think Edmonton's done. That's the one thing. They did address a need up front, some meat up front. If you have a big guy, if they get Kane back, depending.
You think that's enough up front though, Jamie? Watching them play a couple times over the last 10 days, it's like they're. I don't know. It's like a lot of McDavid and Draisaitl, and then after that, they don't have the mojo of those guys last year. You know what I mean? Third line.
RNH, that third line is really good. It's just they haven't kind of just been like Edmonton. It's Henrique's a really good number 3 centerman. I like that.
I know, but my only concern is that they're relying on them to recapture that magic of last year, and if they don't do it, they could be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you can add, I think the Arvidsson is a guy who's small, and he's been injured. So that's the guy they probably need to replace or have him be healthy. That's the biggest challenge. But they've got lots of depth there, and I think they're going to if you got to figure out what you're going to do with Kane. If you get Evander Kane for free at the deadline or for playoffs, now again, easier said than done. Everyone's like, oh, Mark Stone and Kucherov. Those guys are special players. It's tough to jump on a moving train right at the end of the season.
He's been out the whole year, too. That's the thing. Stone.
Hayes was talking about him yesterday. He's like, I want to come back.
Well, that's what is being reported, that Kane and the team kind of don't see eye to eye on his timeline. and he wants to play.
Well,
and
they might have to move him, guys.
Well, I wouldn't move him, though. I'd be very reluctant to do that because of what he represents and how he can play.
Yeah, he's
like
a
that's
unique guy.
Like you're going to move him for what? Like I like Trent Frederick. Frederick is a good player. I think he's a poor man's Evander Kane. I think that's what he is. He's a poor man's Evander Kane. When Kane is playing at his best, he's capable of scoring. He can play with very good players. Like Frederick's not playing with McDavid. That's not going to happen. He's
some of the runs that Edmonton's have been on, guys, Kane has been like the 3 guy. Like he's been the guy that scores, hits, causes problems. Like he's been unreal at different times in their playoffs.
You go back to that playoff, the Battle of Alberta, that Calgary series, it was Kane that tormented them. And Kane went right after Matthew Tkachuk and neutralized him. And then that's where that allowed the rest of them to go nuts. And Kane also scored a hat trick in that series and was an absolute force. You're right. But you can't just go, okay, I'm ready to play, I'm going to do that. Like you have to build. Like that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. It's very tricky because the nature of the sport right now, and with the finite salary cap, and because we're a few days away from the trade deadline, now you got to make a decision between now and Friday. Like that's when you have to make a call and you got to know his answer, whether or not he's willing to, quote unquote, take one for the team and arrive game 1, and what's it going to look like at that point? There's also some gambling on Edmonton's side. Like that'll be a guy who hadn't played in a full year, coming off multiple surgeries, not a young guy. What's he going to look like? I mean, it's a complicated scenario, but I like the Trent Frederick pickup. I like the Habs re-signing Jake Evans. I like that play too. He got 4 years, got some security, a little bit of money. They won again last night. The Habs are a point out. Like every day we come in here and we're like, well, who's going to be a buyer? Who's going to be a seller? What appears clear now is Boston selling. Boston is going to sell. Marchand is week to week. McAvoy's out. Lindholm's out. They've played more games than anyone. I don't think they trust who they are, and I don't think they really want to just backdoor in and get pumped. So they're going to sell. Who else is going to go out the door? We're not certain, but Boston's going to sell. New York's not going to. Ottawa's not going to, I don't believe. And I'm not sure. I don't think Montreal's going to. I think Montreal is just going to kind of plug along. It doesn't mean they're going to be a buyer, but I think they might look at it and say, why not? We got 20 games left. We're a great hocky market. We're kind of in the race.
And that means like guys like David Savard will just not trade him.
But that's the thing, I still would sell, but it depends on who, guys. Like that's the thing. David Savard, do they have somebody internally that could eat some of his minutes? Like
Reinbacher's the guy in the future, but he's not playing right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
there's your right shot defenseman, top 4, but he's not going to be.
What are you going to sell a guy like that for anyway? Like, are you really? What the hell is that? If it's a 3rd round pick, what the hell's the sense?
Well, you're right. But see, Montreal did a really savvy move a while back. They got that Carrier from Nashville. He's a really good defenseman. Solid skates, moves the puck. So that made Savard more expendable because Savard got pushed down the lineup. So if you can get something for him, a younger player, something like I agree. Like I'm not saying blow it up, but I look at Montreal and I still believe they're going to end up with something in the 80s. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but it's a great run. It's a great story. And a lot of these guys have taken a step. But if there is players that need to, whether they are on expiring contracts or you can find room for other guys pushing through, I don't think you change the course because the team has had success. If anything, you got to continue to allow them to battle and play meaningful games. That's what they're trying to do right now.
Yeah.
Jake Evans is a unique situation because he's 27?
28, I think.
28, and that's less than $3 million.
He's a depth player. Yeah, exactly. You know what he is.
He's a good player. But I mean, if they could find Dvorak a home, somebody like that,
you might be able to make those moves without really affecting your wins and loss column.
Right.
Like
that's my point.
That's probably the best way to do it is kind of plug away. If someone wants to pick up a veteran piece off you, you move and you go from there. And listen, I've wavered on the Habs. We've had these conversations where, a couple months ago I was like, you still got to sell, you got to sell, you got to sell. To their credit, they've gone up and down, up and down. They've won 5 in a row again, and they're a point out. Right. And I think, if you're Nick Suzuki, who's committed to your franchise and is your captain, it's tough to tell him we don't believe in you with your actions. And that's what it would be telling them. Publicly, they'd say the right things. No, we believe in the guys. bogus. If you trade veteran guys who are important pieces, you don't believe. Like, you don't really believe you're going to get in. So these guys aren't stupid. Caulfield hit 30 goals last night. You know, Slavkovsky's doing what he did last year. The second half, he's starting to pick it up a little bit. And it's the market. And you got an owner there who's probably like, hey, I wouldn't mind a little bit of buzz in Montreal through
you
March.
You got a Montreal radio hit tomorrow, don't you, Hayes?
Yeah, I'm in Montreal tomorrow. I am.
Oh,
yes.
my God.
I am talking to the boys.
All of a sudden, you were just
I knew it.
I
knew it.
I have gone up and down with this. I don't think they're a legitimate. They're not a contending team. Like, don't get me wrong. They're not winning anything. And I would, if you ask me to put money on it right now, do I think they'll make the playoffs? I would say no. That would be my bet, and that would be my guess. But they're a point out. You know, you're not asking me to think Buffalo's going to make it or Pittsburgh.
What's wrong with saying you guys have a chance? So
good
why not?
for them.
And
exactly.
they do, and they've
good
earned
for them.
it.
They've battled hard, man.
Yeah.
Like they have. They've stayed in the race. I thought they were sunk like a couple weeks ago when they started really leaking oil, and it looked. And here's another part of it is you're looking at it, and it's Columbus and Detroit and Ottawa. They don't have any playoff history. Like, you're not looking at them saying, man, they scare the hell out of me. They're going to snap out of it in the last 20 games and run off a 15-5 record. You can't feel that way about any of those teams right now. No. You know, like that was a big point Ottawa got last night. Like
they're down 3-0.
3-0, and it was like everything was going downhill on them, and they battled and they picked up a point. That was significant. Like you need to have that a lot down the stretch.
You do.
Picking up points where maybe you weren't supposed to get them.
The thing is Montreal's been so streaky. Could we be talking 2 weeks from now and they've lost 4 or 5?
Absolutely.
And
easily.
They're,
absolutely.
But so that's my point is
I hear you.
I think it's great. You guys know where I stood right from day one. I thought they were an 84-point team in that, in the playing meaningful hockey, which is right now playing me. And this Hudson kid's a player. Caulfield's found another level here. Line A, listen, in and out of the doghouse, but there's been some great storylines in Montreal, which is awesome. And I hope they get whatever they deserve here down the stretch. But I still think if you're sitting there and you're going, okay, we have a plan in place, I don't think you deviate from it because you got a 5-game winning streak going.
I hear you.
I think you go, hey, we're going to trim the outer edges here. We've got players that we're going to try. We've got players pushing through. Or if there's a deal that makes sense, make it because you're going to make your team better, for the future as well. So I don't think they're going to change the course, but again, I'm just on the outside looking in, but that's just my
Well, I would say that
instinct.
the Evans deal is an interesting one because Doc is out for the year, right?
Yes.
And I think Evans looked at it and said, I got an opportunity here. Like I
Sure.
can play. You can't rely on Kirby Doc. He's hurt all the time.
Right.
Like I don't know what his future is going to be. And they could have looked at that and said, we got to move now. It's not going to work, and we're going to move Evans. And they chose to sign him. And I think they got a pretty good deal considering the way he's been playing.
I thought it would be a lot more money than that, to be honest with you. Like I thought he'd be a $4 million guy.
Well, he got 2.85. I think Pierre LeBrun was reporting that the Habs kind of held strong and said, we like you. This is what we can give you. You make the decision if you want to be a Montreal Canadian. And he made that choice.
Well,
and to his credit.
It is.
To both their credits.
It's
I don't want to mess
$4 million.
around.
It's $4 million in free agency. It's 2.85 if you want to stay with the program where you're comfortable, where you've been drafted, developed, and you probably own a home and want to grow with these guys and continue. To me, I like that move from both sides. I don't know if he's ever had a 4-year deal in his career. He's a guy I think he's a 7th rounder and had to grind his way.
For sure.
Battled. And they didn't overpay for the player. If anything, that's a slight hometown discount because I guarantee you there's a lot of teams that would give him something with a 3 or a 4 in it in free agency based on, what he brings to the table. He's a nice player.
Yeah, for sure. And like every year, the Canadian teams are front and center, and they're going to be because, the Leafs have to figure out what they're going to do here and if they're going to pay a price. How comfortable they are. Everyone's focusing on the same thing. The 2026 first rounder, Ben Danford, Easton Cowan, Fraser Mitten. Like those are the big four. That's the number one topic in town. Which one do you give up? Which one are you reluctant to move off of? And what they have to determine is which ones are going to be the best players. Not which ones are going to help you the quickest. Which ones are going to be the best players. Like you got to know your prospects as well as you can. And
better than anybody, Hayes.
Yeah, better than anyone. Exactly. You have to know exactly what Easton Cowan's going to be in 5 years, as closely as you can. What Ben Danford's going to be, Fraser Minton, and find a way to move off, the third one in the pecking order if you're comfortable in doing that. But they're not alone. Like Montreal, again, making signings. Ottawa, I'm curious what they do between now and the deadline. And it sure sounds like Vancouver. Like Vancouver's a fascinating scene right now because I guess Pettersson just spoke with the media and kind of had a mea culpa on his own play and taking accountability for it and walked back his media comments from last week when he was in Utah and talked about how annoying it is to deal with the media. Brock Besser, he's number 2, I believe, on TSN's trade bait board. That guy, he scores goals. He scored a lot of goals last year, a lot of playoff goals, like big playoff goals last year. And if you're going to move off him, look at JT Miller. He did it again last night. JT Miller has more points than Elias Pettersson has shots since the trade. That is a staggering statistic. Staggering statistic. And if you're in Vancouver, what are you doing? Like if Besser's going to walk and you're going to trade Pettersson, who is scoring out there? They can't score anyway. Who is going to give you offense? What are you going to possibly do with your future?
Think about like a fan calling one of their friends from a faraway place last year saying, my team, the Vancouver Canucks, is so dialed in. We're young. We got studs at every position needed. We've got Quinn Hughes, JT Miller, Pettersson, and Demko in net, and we are locked and loaded, and we're probably going to win a cup in 5 years. Like, imagine calling back and giving an update on your team.
I know. It's staggering.
Wow. Staggering, dude.
It's sickening out there. It's sickening what's happening in Vancouver.
I have a close contact, a dear friend of mine in Vancouver, who is, we'll call him Carl from Cloverdale. That's because he calls in and he talks to all he's got a real good pulse of Vancouver. And he's so disappointed. But he actually goes back.
How could you not be, Noodles?
But he's realistic. He goes back to moves that were made 4 and 5 years ago, going, we should have done this, could have pivoted here, but we doubled down here, did this. And, he's talking Louis Eriksson signing. He's talking Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Yeah, but that
trade.
One, those are all buried and gone
They're gone
away.
now.
No, but he says but what it happens is there's a layer effect because it affects where they pick. It affects draft picks that went out, players that didn't get an opportunity. He's saying you have to. He's terrified, and this is his wording, but he's a dear friend of mine. He's saying Quinn Hughes might just put his hand up and
That's
go.
the question. I think he's got 2 years left, and if Pettersson goes, and if Besser's gone, I don't know if Demko's ever going to be reliable again. What is Vancouver? Like
You're
I
telling
honestly,
me Quinn Hughes is UFA in 2 years?
I believe he is. Yeah, I believe so.
We got to we'll fact check that.
Check that out, but I'm pretty sure it's coming up.
But
and it's coming up pretty
even
quick,
guys,
man.
like, okay, so regardless, whether he was UFA in
Terrifying.
5 years or not, my point being is this guy, Vancouver's, I believe, in a playoff spot right now.
Well,
that is the crazy thing. All the bumps and ups and downs, you look at their record, and it's like in a playoff spot, and it's like, how?
Every team out there right now is giving it back. They're like, Calgary's in that spot, but they literally are tied with Vancouver. St. Louis a point behind. Utah 2 points behind. And so I'm looking at this. Who's grabbing that spot? Vancouver could legitimately, on the back of Quinn Hughes, grab a playoff spot. Mm-hmm. Like, and listen, you play Winnipeg, which, Winnipeg is a great team, but
they got their scar tissue too in the playoffs.
So my thing is that 8th spot is wide open for 3 or 4 teams that either are going to put their hand up or are going to trade pieces at the deadline and going to try and do it with young, hungry players.
And still might get in.
And still might get in.
Because it looks like 89 points will get you in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Quinn Hughes is in year 4 of 6.
Okay.
So he's got 2 years left after this, and then he's a free agent. He'll be 27 at that time.
Now lots can change in
lots
that time.
can change, but if you're Vancouver, you've got next July, like July 1st, 2026, circled saying, what do we have to pay you?
Yeah.
What is the deal? You put a number down, and we will sign it. And you're looking at a scenario where a lot can change because look where we were this time last year. They were the hottest team in the league, and now they're a dumpster fire.
So. Yeah,
but Yeah, it's,
man, oh man.
It's really
I'd ask him even before that, like
try to get a read.
Yeah, just get a read and say, look, dude, you probably have an idea what the hell's going on here. Like, just give us a heads up. Like, if it's just a no, let us know.
But
because we got a team to put on
earth, man. Like, if happens, literally in Vancouver, you're preparing for the next 5 years of being the worst team in the league.
Thing is, though, I don't think that's – we see how quickly teams turn. I will say this, and I've been saying this a long – like that San Jose team, I think has got something going there a couple years from now.
Years, though.
If they get that Schaefer kid, if they get first overall and draft that Schaefer kid, and they've got a couple other kids that can develop, and they insulate them with some good veterans, I think the year after next they could make the playoffs.
Sure.
But I like the young goalie, Askarov. They're developing him in the
Russian Carey Price that never plays in the NHL
and never plays that well at the World Juniors, but everywhere else he's been brilliant. Like I like him as a goalie. Again, he's a wild card, but he's a good goaltender. Celebrini, Eklund.
But it started 2 years ago, though, Noodles.
Yeah,
right.
But that's the thing. They're headed in the right direction.
Sure,
like I would argue,
it'll be 5 years.
I would argue San Jose is going to be better than a lot of these teams that are in the middle and haven't rebuilt and are going to try and retool on the fly. Like San Jose at least have some pieces and a guy to build around. Like, I think San Jose is going to be better in Chicago in 2 years.
It's performance and luck. Like San Jose said, you know what, we're going to be terrible. And they got the pick, and the pick hit. And he's showing signs that he is a first overall pick, and the organization is going to benefit from him. Like it's an organizational changer where it's some other guys. And you're seeing the middling teams like the Calgarys. If you're kind of in, you're kind of out. You don't really have a lottery pick. You don't make the playoffs. If you do, you get just dummied in the first round. It's a bad place to be.
That's my point. Is they knew what they were doing, and it looks ugly. And it's still they're in third last place in the league, aren't they, or second?
San Jose, they're in dead last.
Oh, I thought Chicago was behind them, but
no, they're. I mean, they picked up 2 points last night, but they
might have jumped.
They have been tanking. Like they're anyone that's. I mean, anyway, it doesn't matter. But yes, I hear what you're saying. They're still 4 points back of Chicago. That's how bad that loss was by the Leafs last night. Wow. Like I get it. You're not going to win every game. Okay, but you're up 2-0 against San Jose. That has to be a formality.
For what you saw last night, let me name some teams that are ahead of them. And you tell me 2 to 3 years from now if you believe San Jose will be better than them.
Okay.
Chicago.
Yes.
Buffalo.
Yes.
Seattle.
Yes. I don't know what Seattle is anymore. I don't know.
Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Right. Anaheim, I think Anaheim's got some good.
Anaheim's kind of moving a little bit,
but there's Nashville is kind of in the middle. I think Nashville's going to be. I think that's a different.
Who knows what
older.
they're doing? But have you seen the Stamkos stats? I know we're getting off track here.
13 goals, 0 points.
13 games.
13 games, 0 points.
Like Sam Mitchell, 0. We got guys 0, 0,
I
0.
didn't see that. That slid through the cracks there. From zeros, he's got feathers in 13 games.
13 games. Noodles. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, this Gensel's scoring and looks pretty down. That was a hell of a game last night. I was watching that.
Goalies are playing pretty well down there, man. That's a scary thing.
Noodles, that's what we were talking about earlier. Like,
well, I thought Vasilevsky, according to Jonas, was no good.
And I don't think Jonas walked back
yesterday.
and
Hayes said Vasilevsky.
That's not true. I did not. I wasn't as. You everyone else did something, and you have your hands clean on every single comment.
That's right.
But
yeah, I'm over there.
Jonas was very harsh. I was in the middle. I was factual. Like the facts were that the Leafs got to Vasilevsky a couple of years ago. He was brutal in that series, and then last year he was just okay. But now he's really starting to rock, and Bob is a rock star, and it's
Vasilevsky's second in the league in save percentage behind Hellebuck.
Well, then he jumped Stolarz last night because Stolarz has been right there the whole time.
Yeah, he hasn't played enough games. I always punch in like.
Got to have 30 starts.
Well, you've got to be the number one guy, not a guy who just shows up here and there. You got to be a guy like. For me, I go on the number ones. The Ottinger, Vasilevsky, even Logan Thompson's fallen into that. Like game started, I always punch in like 25 to 30.
Yeah,
that's
pretty terrifying for teams in the East.
Yeah,
I will say that it's pretty terrifying. If Vasilevsky got to reset and is back to where he was 3 years ago, it's.
But meanwhile, Florida won that game. Like,
right.
That's the crazy part.
Exactly. Yeah, at least, I mean, again, that's why that point, you can't piss away a point against San Jose. You can't do that because you got to avoid these two teams. It's so obvious. Find a way to play Columbus, Ottawa, New York, whatever. All right, confirm or deny coming up. Mike Johnson will join us just after 5 o'clock. We got confirm or deny today. We got the Raptors in action. Some crazy NBA news, man. We'll ask the question, because we just talked about the Canucks fans, where the Mavs fans currently stand. Kyrie Irving done for the year with a torn ACL.
Wow.
It's just incredible what's going on out there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 50-plus last night. Shai is on fire. He's, I think, a lock to win the MVP.
And
so we'll get into that more
injury...
still to come. Yeah, there goes. Oh, we'll get him back, and we'll figure him out. Look at his face. There he is. Yeah, there. All right. We're good. We lost you there for a second.
Lost you for a second.
Come back and let you finish that thought. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Auston trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, confirm or deny. And I saw a clip of Trade Center back in the day go viral the other night, and I'm pretty sure
hair?
Fergie, Dreg's hair was unbelievable.
Jimmy Bennett.
Dude, it was jet black.
Yes.
He dyed it for sure back in that day, man.
It was
dude, I'm telling
hair.
you, maybe it's just because we're getting older. His hair is the blackest hair I've ever seen on a white dude in my life.
You're a shoe polish. It was.
Yes.
That's the first thing I noticed when they went to him. Who was it? Gord, Bobby
Dude,
Mack?
he turned to the right, and I'm like, that's Dregs in a wig.
Yeah, that's all it was Dregs, Gord, and Bob. And, Dregs, it looked like they had dipped his head in
fresh dip. We got to get confirmation
fresh dip
on
that morning, but it looked good. There was not a hair out of place. But what stood out to me was Fergie was on the main panel. Fergie,
pardon me?
I'm pretty sure
he is.
John Ferguson Jr. is sitting there with Duthie breaking down trades.
He is.
Fergie was on the panel.
We got to get video of it.
Send a note to the Quizmaster.
If of this, I swear I'll smash every piece of electronics.
I'm pretty sure he's up on the walls at Studio 6 as like a former teammate of yours, I guess.
There is video of Fergie on the panel?
Yes, Trade Center 08. It looks like McGuire, Fergie. I don't know who's beside him there. And then Duthie.
That's probably where the
Milbury.
audio...
It's Milbury.
Is it Mike Milbury?
That's probably where the audio of Duthie where he says, do you regret giving those guys the no trade?
And what great analysis. I can't confirm or deny that. Okay, thanks. Here's our other panel.
Yeah. Oh, we'll go to commercial then.
We're going to bring you in for a full day of analysis. Your thoughts on this? I can't confirm or deny.
Oh my God.
Do you like that move by Jersey? I can't confirm or deny that. Any questions?
Oh, remember what did he say? Did he have a speech when he got Yannick Perreault? He's like, guys.
That was in the room, right, with you guys.
Yeah, did he get the guy who's good on draws? Yannick Perreault, wasn't it?
No, he walked in, he goes, bolstered out the team for a move, brought in Luke Richardson and Yannick Perreault. Let's go get him, guys.
That's inspiring.
Well, I love Luke Richardson. I love Luke.
Well, they were both former Leafs, too, right? Like, Yannick Perreault started his career as a Leaf.
Dude, I'm telling you, the best Fergie thing of all time is he came in and Ty Domi got us all BMW. Oh, my God.
There he is. There, look at Dreg's hair. That is
I'm telling you, that's not a fresh dip. That's him from Saskatchewan. That's just him young.
Dude, that is jet black hair, man.
Man, he looks young, and he is cut. The suit looks butter. Look at Bobby writing down the trade. Bob's like, oh, that's an interesting move. Yeah, that was Marian Hossa back in the day when he got traded from Atlanta. And the deal, you look back on it, the names, they got like
Colby Armstrong.
Nothing. Yeah, I mean Colby's a good player.
Frank Esposito, wasn't it?
Angelo Esposito.
Yeah,
Angelo Esposito.
Yeah, isn't there a Frank Esposito here in Toronto that made the?
No, it's not. I know who you're talking about. It's not Frank
Esposito.
Frank D'Angelo. That's who it is. Right. It's not Esposito.
Who made the monster drink? And,
he had he was in the apple juice game or something. I don't know what his deal was.
Anyways, Angelo Esposito. He was a World Junior star.
He was a really.
He
good
was
player.
The next one, man.
Yeah, first round pick, really good player. But obviously, that was when Hossa went there, didn't win. Then went to Detroit, didn't win. And then eventually went to Chicago and won 3 times. So I'd say it worked out pretty well for Hossa. But yeah, Fergie, there he is, looking great. Fergie, yeah. We need to go into the archives. We need to find some Fergie analysis if we can.
Somebody send it in if you have it. Dig it up and send it to @Hayes TSN or OverDrive because I want to see clips of his.
They'll have
his
mojo
on TV.
Me too.
If they keep having all these trades, we're going to have to pull up clips of Fergie on Friday because we can't sit there for 8 hours and do nothing. To me, we're going to have something. We'll go back to Fergie clips.
We're 2 trades away from llama time. There'll be animals in there.
Gino
if there's 2
with
more.
The llama.
Yeah. Gino's got a bat signal to get the llamas if there's 2 more trades because it's going to be tough.
It will. It is something we need to happen. And we need Marty Baron and Hedge to go at it again with the bazookas. Right. And but yeah, I think that what I would love a compare and contrast of Fergie's analysis to the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill's analysis today. You know how great it would be if you.
Dude, are you actually going to compare me to Fergie?
What I'm saying, I don't remember him on that panel. I'm saying
I don't
if
either.
We could find a clip where he hammers some sort of analysis and then it's thrown to you and you kind of have to compare and contrast how you would feel about that deal. There's something there. I think there's something there we can dig up. Might be a specific OverDrive bid. I'm not sure the guys at Trade
Fergie
Center are going to be that
clips.
Interested in it, but
that's what it'll be called, Fergie clips.
Fergie clips. Fergie clips. All right, confirm or deny. Confirm or deny. The Montreal Canadiens should be buyers at the deadline.
Not buyers. I'm denying it. If you don't want to sell some pieces and you signed Evans, if you don't want to get rid of Savard, you can just stand pat and say, you know what, well, because if you're just dumping guys for 3rd-round picks, although it's a tough one because there's all different kinds of scenarios. If a guy's got a year or 2 left and you don't really want him around and somebody wants him, then go ahead and get rid of him. But I don't think they should be sellers where they're just take anything you want. They got to give those guys some kind of chance to break through.
I'm denying it. I think they stay with the course. I made my case in the 4 o'clock or in the first segment. I think they've had an up and down season, but kind of where we believe they would be, playing meaningful minutes. I don't think you start changing the course and grabbing somebody to add here and there, unless again it comes back to what I was saying. If it makes sense, if you can get somebody with term.
That's it, Noodles. Let's say Buffalo is now. That's a difficult one because they're within the division and they've kind of been on par with each other. But Buffalo, I have no idea what they're doing. I have no idea what Buffalo thinks they're doing, what they think they have, where they think they're going. But let's say, Dylan Cousins is available, right? After Suzuki,
be a lineup for that.
That's the thing. Doc, I think, is a guy that they're not going to really rely on. Jake Evans is a guy that he's further down the lineup. Dvorak's going to get flushed out. That, I could sell a confirm on that if it's more about the future than it is a rental. A rental, I'm a deny on that, clearly.
Right.
But
it's
with term, I would be a confirm. It's
a great point, but again, what do you have to give up for a guy of Cousins? Because Buffalo has made it clear that they don't need any more draft picks and futures. They need live players to be better.
What a crazy scenario they're in, guys, Buffalo.
I
rumblings of guys not happy with the winning culture and what a vicious cycle, man.
It's an awful cycle.
But they've got pieces. I'll give you an example. Bowen Byram. This kid's 23. Now, yes, he's had a few concussion issues, but he's a nice player. He might be a top pairing defenseman, and they've already got Dahlin there and Power there. So maybe he ends up at best their number 3 if those other guys. I mean, Dahlin's. I think Dahlin's.
These guys just got him. Like that's what I don't understand.
That. But what I'm saying
they got rid of Middlestad to get him.
Just got him.
But Middlestad is, I don't know, he's a talented player. I still thought that was weird for Colorado to add him in the 2-hole there. But
what is Cousins though? What do you think Cousins projects as? Do you think he's got bona fide number 2 centerman in that league?
Yes, I do.
I think he can be a number 2. Yeah.
I do. I think he has a chance to be a really good player in the league. Listen, he's got to. I think he's got to continue to fill out. He's got to get better. There's details of his game, but at 24 years old, I believe he is. Man, like that's somebody I would take a.
Did you see Kotkaniemi fight him the other day?
That was crazy.
I could not believe my off the draw.
Yeah.
What is
like Eric Lindros style? Like, I'm going to kill you right now.
And credit to Kotkaniemi, man. He held his own in there. Like
damn right he did. There's guys like that where you have no idea, and if you think they're a wussy or something, I did it myself. I missed 6 weeks because I thought a guy was a wussy from the Quebec League. And he knocked my head right off.
Yeah, like that's a win by Kotkaniemi, man. Like that's a win, and that like look at him fired up. He can't believe in the Whalers jersey too.
Yeah, the Whaler jersey was a nice touch. I thought that always looks great. But okay, so if Buffalo decides, I agree that the only way I can agree with it, not deny it, is if they do something for the future and grab another player of that ilk, like a high-end guy who's in mid-20s at best.
Right, that adds to the core and is a part of the future.
Yeah.
All right, confirm or deny, the Dallas Maverick fans have the right to be labeled the most pissed-off fan base in North American sports.
Dude, 100% confirm. And what I was trying to get to before somebody cut my audio back at the studio, that injury is going to lie right at the feet of that GM, man. They're going to be like, you really suck now. Now Kyrie's hurt. And look how good Luka's playing with L.A. Have you seen him dialed in there?
They're on fire, man.
Throwing down the court alley-oops to LeBron.
Well, that's what's amazing. He's revitalized LeBron. LeBron was playing really well anyway. You can see LeBron's alive, man. Like at 40, the guy's playing unbelievable. But
that injury looks awful.
That's an ACL. That's a blown-out ACL. Like Kyrie's done for a long time. Street clothes. You have no idea when he's going to play. They got pumped by Portland last night. They're still going to make the playoffs because Phoenix is a mess. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think. What I will say is, if Luka was still there and Kyrie blew his knee out, they'd still be in big trouble. Like they'd be in big trouble. Kyrie's been a huge part of their program. But I'm actually going to deny this because we just referenced the Buffalo Sabre fan. Like, Maverick fans, I get why you're angry. You deserve to be angry. Luka was your guy, and they traded him, and now it's a mess. You were in the NBA Finals last year. If you're a Sabre fan, they've been in the playoffs in like 14 years. What if you're a Cleveland Brown fan? You're looking at Dallas saying, are you serious complaining to me? I'm a Browns fan. How dare you suggest you're on my level?
Sabres? 14 years?
Yeah, it's been a long time, man. Long time. Like, we're talking Chris Drury, like Danny Briere era, I think, right? Maybe just after that, but it's been a long time.
Just think of it. I started doing this job 14 years ago, and they haven't been in the playoffs
I've never covered the Sabres in the playoffs. Never.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the same boat as you since I've been here at TSN. I've never teed up a Sabres playoff series. Yeah. Not once. That is staggering.
And it's not happening this year. I mean, it just,
not even close.
The thing is haven't we lumped the Sabres fans in that they got the Bills there?
Somewhat.
Or do you just have to, because this Maverick, like, that's a mess down there, and people should be pissed off. They traded a superstar in his prime, not even at his prime yet.
And love being there, too. Love Dallas.
They should be the most pissed off. Because I think Sabres fans have agreed, like they've kind of come to terms with it going, okay, it's another, like that, this Dallas situation.
It's sharp. It's very acute. It's an acute feeling right now.
Yeah.
All right, we'll continue with Confirm or Deny throughout the day. We got Johnny coming up, Mike Johnson in 15. Got Bruce on the show today, Bruce Boudreau, Javon Shepard teeing up, again, the Raps tonight, what they're going to do moving forward. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, what the Mavericks are going to possibly do in the future. There's a lot to get into with him. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Mike Johnson in 15 minutes. Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We'll get to our best bets later in the hour. You guys want to hear some Fergie analysis from the 2008 Trade Center?
I hope it's when Duthie says, if you were still the GM, would you pull the plug on this whole... And he doesn't answer the question.
All right, well, I believe that was the exact back and forth. JD, this is 17 years ago. John Ferguson Jr. on the panel.
Not enough time. If you were still the general manager of the Leafs, would the for sale sign be out? Would everybody be available, including Sundin?
Well, you take direction from your team and how your team is doing during the year. And when you're hovering around in and out of the playoffs and now number of points back, you know you've got to recognize the opportunity and make a move. I was preparing and making calls for 6 to 8 weeks before January 22nd when I was let go, and those discussions were well underway. So you had to have that plan in place, and we did.
But right now, the for sale sign would be out?
Sure.
All right. And what would you?
All right, pretty good stuff there. I like that. I like that from Fergie. Nailed that.
I can neither confirm or deny that.
That's right. That was
but
not long
you know
after
what the business is all about. When Duthie says, would the for sale sign be up, he's looking for absolutely. Everything is for sale.
Well, and at that point, that was a weird time.
You take direction from your team, and you got to look.
It was a weird time.
Confirm or deny.
With the Leafs, man. It was a weird time, a weird transition, man. Because that would have been Cliff Fletcher, I guess, in there, right? I think did he make the Koliakovo-Steen deal?
Steen.
Like
for that right-handed shot.
For Lee Stepniak. That didn't work out so well. But, it was a tough time.
I love Cliff, though. Cliff is a beauty.
He's a legend. Absolute legend.
He's still, every time I see him, he still reminds me of Lieutenant Frank Drebin.
Frank Drebin.
Yeah.
The Naked Gun.
The Naked Gun. He looks exactly like
He does look like Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen. He looks exactly like him. I love him. What a great man.
Trader Cliff. All right, hour 2 coming up. Confirm or deny will continue, and Mike Johnson will join us. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.